Y'all can be seated. She'll make the announcement at the door when the jury is here. And state, if you'll just, I believe where you left off, you were offering state's exhibit number 2?
Yes, sir.
All right. And any other objections you want me to hear before the jury comes in?
Yeah, Judge. I mean, I was going to say that we maintain or re-urge.
We are on the record.
Where is it? Why you got the Jackson doing and stuff?
All right, defense.
Judge, yes, the objection to the video is the same.
And it's state's exhibit number 2?
It's 2, Judge, State's
Yes.
Exhibit 2, which is, I believe, Officer Morgan's body camera. And they are to statements after
312.
and it's the Zulu stamp at the top. It's not on the screen right now. It's 312, I believe it is. Our objections to any statement after that made by the defendant where he is not free to leave. He's expressed his desire to leave. His wife is there. He's asked if he can be excused and he'll give a statement. But the officer manifests his intent to keep him there. He's detained. He is not allowed to leave. He doesn't know he's not under arrest, but the effect of it, of the totality of the circumstances, is that his freedom of movement has been restricted in such a way that a normal person would believe that they are under arrest because he's not free to go and see his wife. He's not free to go to the bathroom. He's being kept there. So his the situation is the same as custodial arrest, and any statements he has made are because his will has been overborne by hours, not minutes, hours, 2, maybe 3 hours of questioning. And therefore we object to any of those statements that he makes after timestamp 312, I think it is, Judge. And the 5th.
All right, just 1 moment. State, are there any statements made by him after that with regards to this witness?
After the final statement that the state played for the hearing, there are no more statements. Anything else is needed?
All right, the objection will be overruled. Let's bring the jurors in.
And Judge, just to that, I know, I'm sorry, and to any evidence after that, any statements by the defendant and any evidence derived from statements from him after that point, Judge.
So with regards to your objection, state has informed the court, and I watched state's exhibit number 2 with both state and defense, that with regards to this officer and this officer's body cam, there are no further statements through this officer after there is what appears to be a statement made by the accused about leaving. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, your objection is overruled. Let's bring in the jurors.
All right, for the jury.
All right, everyone, please be seated. And I believe where we left off, state, you were offering into evidence state's exhibit number 2.
Yes, no, the state officer is number.
And defense, your objections have been noted for the record.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, those objections will be overruled. State's exhibit number 2 is admitted.
Judge,
Granted.
I'm stopping your body cam at 15611 in the top right corner. What are we seeing you do?
I'm walking up to what I presume would be the crash further north, but I couldn't make it with my patrol car.
And why couldn't you make it with your patrol car?
My patrol car couldn't fit through the sea of vehicles.
Just as we're watching the state's exhibit number 2, how many vehicles are out there on the highway?
I would say several dozen.
Now, fast forwarding all the way up to 15629, what are we seeing at this, or 15832, sorry about that. What are we seeing at this point?
The original crash I was dispatched to.
And what was the cause of the original crash?
Wrong way driver.
And who was
I was the original handling officer.
were you the only officer that showed up at the scene?
No, sir.
Who else showed up?
Officer Rodriguez and Officer Lechuga.
But you were the primary.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to the jury, what does it mean when you're the primary?
When you're the primary officer, you're the one handling the report, taking statements, investigating what's happening.
Fast forwarding through state's exhibit number 2, did you speak to any of the witnesses that were involved in the crash, in that first car crash?
Overruled. You can answer yes or no, but do not state what anyone told you.
No,
So you didn't talk to him, you did.
I did.
21737. Now, at this point, you've been at this first car crash for about 10 to 15 minutes, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And at this point, now that you're back at your patrol car, what are you doing?
Making sure everyone has valid insurance and license.
So you're partway through your investigation.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever get an opportunity to finish your investigation?
No, sir.
What made you pause the investigation into the first crash?
I saw Officer Rodriguez and Officer Lechuga running towards my vehicle.
And when they got towards your vehicle, did they notify you of anything?
Yes.
And what were you notified of?
That they presumed I was involved in a crash, but they also heard a crash further south.
So they heard a crash further south. What did you do upon hearing that?
Went to go figure out what happened further south.
Now fast forwarding, and this is to 2:23:30. What are we seeing here?
Talking with my cover officers about what happened,
And what are they informing you of?
that there was a crash that flipped. Or there was a vehicle that flipped.
And how far away from your patrol vehicle was this crash? I'm fast forwarding. Was it a close distance? Was it far?
It was pretty far from where the original crash was and where we were.
Is it 2:40 or 2:24:46? What are you doing?
Walking over to where they heard they had the crash.
At this point, at about 2:25:37, what are you beginning to do?
Starting to jog
And why is that?
because I saw a vehicle crashed out on the right shoulder.
And why is your camera shaking around a lot right now?
Because I'm jogging over to the vehicle.
And is the body worn camera, whenever you wear it, is it steady?
No, never.
And what can sometimes happen?
It can shake.
And you proceeded about 2:26:14. Where's the body cam now?
It's in my hand.
And who are you talking to at 2:26:19?
I'm talking to Mr. Stefanov.
And who's Mr. Stefanov?
He was the driver of the Volkswagen, the first vehicle I saw.
And how many vehicles did you at first think were involved in this second crash?
I only presume that there was 3 vehicles involved.
What type of vehicles?
One was a Volkswagen, which Mr. Stefanov was driving. Then I saw an 18 big rig. And then I saw a Chevy Silverado.
So you first talked to Mr. Stefanov.
Yes, sir.
And where was Mr. Stefanov's car in relation to that 18-wheeler?
It was about it's 1 o'clock.
Was it ahead of the 18-wheeler?
Yes.
And right here in 2:26:33, where are you going now?
I'm running over to the Chevy Silverado.
And want to do what's up in your mess? What's up, man? I'm okay. What happened? Yeah, we have another accident over there. Yeah, I had my brakes and everybody talking. I couldn't talk about. Oh, there's another car. Alright, I got you, man.
I'm stopping at about 2:27:14. Who are you talking to at 2:27:14?
Mr. Alexander Castro.
And do you see Mr. Castro here in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Can you point out to him and describe him by an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's wearing the blue suit and gray pants.
Let the record reflect that the officer has identified the defendant. Where was Mr. Castro whenever you first encountered him?
He was in the driver's seat of the Chevy Silverado.
And did you ask him what happened?
Yes, sir.
And what did he say?
He said everyone's braking, tried to brake, couldn't brake.
And while you were talking to Mr. Castro, did you notice anything?
That he was involved in a very serious crash.
Did you notice any other cars?
Yes.
Well, where did you notice another car?
Further south of where his truck was, about it's 5 o'clock.
So further south. So it was further south on 281.
Yes, sir.
And so you were already responding to the first accident that's in Barrett County, but now we're going more south to where we're definitely in Barrett County.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Al. Just bear with me.
Now, 2:27:20, what are you doing?
Running over to the Honda Accord because I didn't see a driver exit the vehicle.
Now, pause the video at 2:27:55. How many people were in the Honda Accord when you approached?
Only one person.
What was the name of that individual? Did you ever gather that info?
Initially, no, but it was relayed as Miss Alexandria Sabert.
And what was Miss Saber's condition?
She had a massive laceration on her forehead from what we could initially see.
Was she conscious?
She was not conscious.
While you were with her, did she ever regain consciousness?
Never.
Your Honor, may we approach very briefly?
Yes. All right, you may proceed.
I'm pausing the video at 2:28:21. What are you trying to do here?
Trying to make contact with her, trying to talk to her.
And what's your concern at this time?
Making sure she's stable.
And were there other officers there with you while you were with Miss Saber?
Yes, sir.
Who else was with you?
Officer Rodriguez.
Did any other officers show up while you were there?
Later on, when I requested more, yes.
Fast forwarding. At 2:29:40, What are you doing here, sir?
Trying to alert other drivers that there's a major crash that just happened, trying to get them to slow down.
And were all the other drivers slowing down?
Yes.
Fast forward to 2:30:37. At this point, Officer Morgan, what are you trying to do?
Still trying to make contact with Miss Saber.
What does Officer Rodriguez do?
We're cutting the seatbelt.
Why are you putting the seatbelt?
I believe that she may have been choking on her own blood based on the position she was in. So we wanted to put her in a recovery position,
What did you decide to do?
extract her from the vehicle.
Was that the right decision?
No.
Why?
Based on my training, I should have just kept her there, wait for EMS.
Well, what was your concern?
My concern was making sure she wasn't choking on her own blood.
Fast forward to 2:31:50. But what are you doing at 2:32:35?
Making sure she's in the recovery position,
What's the recovery position?
leg over leg, making sure her head's stable.
And why would you put someone in the recovery position?
This way the blood does not go down their throat, can come out their mouth
And did you stay with Miss Seibert?
for brief moments.
I'm fast forwarding right now. 2:36:0. And I'm pausing at 2:36:04. Who did you leave with, Miss Seibert?
I left Miss Cyber with Officer Chavadia and Officer Rodriguez.
And what was your concern?
Went to go make contact with the other drivers involved.
Was EMS already on the way?
Yes.
Okay. So. Yeah, you the guy with this one? Yeah. You got your license on you? Yeah. As it's on you, is correct? What happened? I tried to, I hit brakes and. Okay. Who'd you hit? You hit him? Nope.
Pausing at 2:37:10. So did you get another opportunity to talk to Mr. Castro?
Yes, sir.
And what did he tell you the second time that you spoke?
He said everyone hit the brakes. I hit the brakes.
And after that point, what did you begin to do?
Went over to Mr. Stefanov's vehicle after speaking with Mr. Martinez.
And Mr. Martinez, who was he? What vehicle was he driving?
He was driving the big rig for HEB.
And at 2:37:23, is that the big rig we see on screen?
Yes, sir.
Fast forwarding now. Did EMS ever arrive?
Yes, sir.
Now we're seeing that here at 2:38:56.
Yes, sir.
So a few minutes after you encountered Miss Seibert, EMS is here.
Yes, sir.
And are you aware, where did they take her?
Samsey, I believe.
2014, what are we seeing?
Me speaking with Mr. Stefanov, trying to get his driver's license.
Speaking with all these other drivers, without saying what they told you, are you getting information on how the crash occurred?
Yes, sir.
We see at 2:40:46, we can kind of tell that Mr. Stefanov's vehicle is ahead of that HEB 18-wheeler. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where is Mr. Castro's vehicle in relation to that HEB 18-wheeler?
Right behind it, but behind the trailer.
And then the Seibert's vehicle, that's further south down 281.
Yes, sir.
I fast forwarded to 2:42:33. At this point, what are you doing?
Speaking with my cover officers, handing the original crash over to one of them or asking them if they can handle that while I handle the fatality.
And what do we notice here? What's missing here that was there when you were further north on 281? What was there?
Traffic.
Where's the traffic now?
It's been moved.
Again, this time to about 2:44:29. Where are you now?
Inside my patrol vehicle,
And what are you doing?
contacting TID.
TID. Explain to the jury, what is that?
TID is abbreviation for Traffic Investigations Detail,
And what is TID's job?
to investigate severe crashes involving serious bodily injury and or death.
And why do you get to call them when there's cases involving serious bodily injury or death?
Because they're the specialists
What do they specialize in?
investigating how crashes occurred.
And so are you able to speak to a TID detective?
Yes.
Who do you speak to?
Back then it was Detective Martinez. Now she's Sergeant Martinez.
And what are you doing when you're talking to Detective Martinez? Now Sergeant Martinez.
Telling her what the other drivers have said. in regards to how the crash happened.
And does Sergeant Martinez ever give you any orders as to what to do next?
Object
Yes,
to hearsay, Judge.
All right, that'll be overruled. You can't say what was said. Just remember to answer the questions that's asked of you. So the answer to that question is either yes or no.
Yes.
Could you repeat your question, please?
yes,
Did you follow those orders?
no.
Well, what did you not do?
I forgot to call them back for an update on Miss Seibert's condition.
So after your conversation with TID, what do you think is gonna happen next?
I'm under the presumption that they would be making our scene after they finished what crash scene they were on.
How long did it take TID to make that scene?
Roughly 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Did you ever follow up with TID during that time?
Not until after they asked me to call them.
While you were waiting for TID, or what you thought TID was on the way, what were you doing?
Repositioning my patrol vehicle.
Fast forwarding, 2:55. What are you doing at this point?
Making my way to the crash scene.
Now, where was your patrol vehicle originally?
It was on the exit ramp for Marshall Road,
Where are you now positioning your vehicle?
south of the original crash scene. I'm sorry, the secondary crash.
Okay, exhibit number 1. What are we seeing in state's exhibit number 1? And this is at about 2:54:51.
An open exit ramp.
And what are you doing?
Driving to go take the turnaround at Marshall Road to go south.
Now, at 2:55:15, what was the thing that we saw on that exit ramp? What did we see?
A tow truck towing a vehicle.
Was that one of the vehicles that was involved in the first car crash?
Yes.
Transport state's exhibit number 1. What are we seeing on that fast forward?
Be driving south on the access road of 281.
Now, what road are you turning on at?
That was the access road for North Loop 604 East. Now it looks like I'm about to take the entrance ramp before Redland Road.
At about 3:135. What are we seeing here?
I was shutting down the highway.
Why did they shut down the highway?
It's procedure whenever we're TID's making scene.
And what exit are you passing here at 3:01:59?
I'm passing up the TPC exit.
On the side of the road, are you noticing anything as you're driving towards where that second car crash happened?
There's no traffic on the access road.
Do you notice any signs?
Yes.
What are those signs for?
Construction.
So they're a warning.
Yes.
And up at the horizon at 3:2:31, what are we seeing up ahead?
The second crash.
Could you see that where that second crash happened from a distance?
Yes, sir.
Now up ahead, what is that?
It's the second crash that occurred.
Now that 3:03. After you repositioned your vehicle, what did you begin to do? And again, we're the state's playing state's exhibit number 2 at 3:4:10.
Now I'm entering my patrol vehicle to write case cards for all parties involved. Case card is basically whenever there's an official text crash report or any kind of report that SAPD is going to be investigating.
So you have to give it to all the involved drivers?
Yes, sir.
Fast forwarding, you see exhibit number 2, I'm stopping at about 3:9:0. What are we seeing as you're walking around at state, during state's exhibit number 2?
The totality of the crash.
Now 3:10:20, who are you approaching?
Mr. Castro.
So it might be a good minute for you to be out here. We're waiting for our investigative unit to come out here, talk with you to see what happened. That's for you. So at the top, it's gonna be labeled as crashes right now. Case number's right there for your insurance purposes. It's got all of you that's coming out of the traffic investigation department. Come out here, ask you what happened. Do you recall what happened? Like, this traffic came to a stop?
I just remember everything came to a stop and I hit the brakes. And I just kept on the brakes and I kept seeing brake lights and everything just.
Do you know when you hit? Did 18 wheeler stop?
He said I hit him, but I don't know what I flipped on. I know I flipped.
You like rolled or like spun?
I know I rolled. I mean, you can see.
Yeah, I can see the scratches. I guess if it just rolled like that. Try to figure out what you might.
And he stopped all of a sudden. As hard as I could to hit him.
All the way to TPC, because that's the nearest exit. Because we can't have anyone coming through here right now. Your truck's Your truck stuck here for a little bit.
I'm just wondering, is my life?
Yeah, your wife wants to chill in the parking lot over there, that's the best idea. Cause like I said, it's gonna be a good minute. And we can always give you a courtesy right off the highway. You got any other questions?
Really just wanna know what happened. All I know is everybody hit the brakes, and I hit the brakes, and I just couldn't stop.
Yeah,
I had no more brake.
well, I don't know,
I'm not worried about that, I'm just,
trying to figure out what's going on. You and me both.
I'm stopping the video at 3:13:25. When you talk to Mr. Castro again, can you give any more details as about what happened?
Yes,
What details did he give?
said everyone's hitting the brakes. I hit the brakes. Couldn't stop.
Did he know what he hit?
He believed he hit the 18-wheeler.
Did he ever describe how traffic was flowing?
He said it was flowing as normal.
Now, after 3:13:26, I'm gonna start fast forwarding. What do you begin to do?
Go and talk with Mrs. Stepanov.
Stopping the video at 3:14:37. What are you doing with Mr. Stepanov?
Trying to assess what injuries he has and let him know that EMS is on the way.
And do you talk again about what he may have seen?
Yes.
Fast forwarding about 3:17:10. What are we seeing here?
Mrs. Stepanov's Volkswagen.
Forwarding again about 3:18:51. What are we seeing you do here?
I'm talking to Mr. Martinez, gathering his information.
And are you also trying to ask what happened?
Yes, sir.
Fast forward again, 3:25:45. What are you beginning to do here?
I was trying to figure out where Mr. Castro went.
Was he in the same spot that he wasn't earlier?
No, sir.
Or where had he gone?
He had walked further south towards where my cover officers were shutting down traffic.
And did he stay with your cover officers?
Begrudgingly, yes,
Why do you say begrudgingly?
because from what Officer Travaglio was saying, he was trying to be assertive and trying to leave.
Fast forwarding, about 3:29:14. What are you doing here?
Assessing the damage to Miss Sabert's vehicle.
Officer Morgan, are you trained in any sort of accident reconstruction?
No. Just a bare minimum.
So you can't figure out how this happened.
No, sir.
Who would be able to figure that out?
CID.
Fast forwarding again. I'm about 4:21:28. While fast forwarding, what are you doing?
Typing up reports, catching up
Catching up with what?
on prior reports and adding information to this case.
4 minutes or 4 hours flat. What are you doing again?
Assessing the damage of the crash.
4:21:28.
On a fatality over here.
So what did we hear you do there?
Inform Mr. Castro that CID is still working on another crash.
Behind my car?
Mr. Castro said that he needed to use the restroom, so I'm escorting him over further south so he can take care of business.
And why can't you escort him further south?
This way, it wouldn't contaminate the crash scene.
I'm not gonna say anything. Let's open to the public over there. Yeah. Yeah, I got it. So if you just wanna. Like go out right here. You just wanna go for it. So what? I know, like I said, I can't stop other people from crashing their car too, earlier today. Yeah. Well, is it for work? No, yeah, I got the motorcycle. Okay. How long was that?
It wasn't really an accident. One guy grabbed my arm, so I just hit it. Not a wall, but I hit a curb. So I kind of saved myself, but I still do a lot, man.
I was hitting golf. I didn't know where he was at, and I was like, where you at? And I was like, trying to just like came into me. What do you mean the auto slid into you? I wasn't paying attention to what she was doing. Yeah, so the driver was over there. Yeah. Which way did you drive? I was in the fast lane. And she was driving erratic. Which way was she driving erratic on? Talk about against the median or what? Talk about hitting like the median or something? Or I mean, I did. I thought she was pulling over. She came under me and I was on my side. Which part under you are you talking about? Just like, on your right side or your left side? On the right side. But she came over and she on the right side. From looking at it, I guess I just went over her and stopped right there. Yeah, but I caused you to roll over and no. I said, then you flipped for a good amount. I was sliding. Is he good? 18 he's good, he's just chilling. He can't take off with the vehicle yet. So it's part of our crash. Gotta stay, even with all the stuff he has in it. Cause he might be at his destination. Oh, you'll go surprise her here. Yeah. I mean, this whole thing is horrible. Yeah, if we get them to talk with y'all first and then send y'all on your way, cause like, I thought like. No, they let you do their interviews for the person. Especially when it's on scene. It's fresh, right? Yeah, you just wanna stay with them.
I'm pausing at 4:24:43. What new details did Mr. Castro just tell you?
Mr. Castro said that he was golfing and then he received a text from his boy saying, I need a ride. So he said he was messing with GPS and he saw the Honda driving erratic.
And what did he say that the Honda did to him?
He said that the Honda went under him.
That the Honda struck him?
Yes, sir.
But he also said that the Honda had been pulling over?
Yes, sir.
Now, at this point, it's been about 2 hours since the crash, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Has CID made their way out there?
No, sir.
That's what you were still waiting for, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, were you ever informed that CID was on their way? Now, fast forwarding right now.
After Detective Martinez wanted to speak with me on the phone, I relayed the information on her on Miss Seibert's condition at the hospital. So they started making their way over to our location.
Fast forward several minutes. At one point, were you notified that CID was on their way?
After I was done with my phone conversation in the patrol vehicle.
Fast forwarding until 6:11:33. Who were you approaching at 6:11:33?
Sergeant Martinez and Mr. Castro.
Now, Officer Morgan, with the driver that was involved in that first crash, did you ever investigate whether they were intoxicated?
No. Initially, I tried to go back, but I didn't have a chance to go to.
Were you disciplined due to the fact that you didn't investigate whether she was intoxicated?
Yes, sir.
What was your discipline?
Good check to relevance, Judge.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Yes, Your Honor. It was a 10-day suspension.
Did anyone ever investigate whether she was intoxicated?
No, not to my knowledge.
Was there another issue that came up due to that first car crash?
In regards to discipline, yes, sir.
Why were you disciplined?
2 allegations. One was attentiveness to duties, and the other one was for crash investigations.
Why are you disciplined because of crash investigations?
I had failed to inform TID of a crash involving a wrong-way driver, regardless of the injuries.
In regards to this incident, sir, were you disciplined in versus that second crash involving Mr. Castro?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes.
say, can we approach on it?
Yes. All right, State, you may proceed.
Officer Morgan, did you ever detect any signs of intoxication from Mr. Castro?
No, sir.
Did you ever investigate into whether he could be intoxicated?
No, sir.
And was that one of the reasons why you were disciplined due to this secondary car accident?
Yes, sir.
What was the other reason why you were disciplined?
Alertness while working.
What does that mean?
Basically, I didn't have a sound and coherent mind while I was investigating
Specifically, why did they allege that?
because I failed to contact TID after calling them initially.
Now, you're standing by while Detective Martinez was talking to Mr. Castro. Did he ever admit anything while you were standing by?
I'm gonna check to hearsay, Judge.
All right, to what Mr. Castro said?
Well, because it's coming, the answer to a question comes from a question and an answer that comes from a different officer, and that's where that.
All right, if you'll repeat your question.
Did Mr. Castro ever admit to anything while you were there?
Yes, sir.
What did he admit to?
He admitted to drinking beers.
Had you asked him anything about alcohol consumption leading up to that point?
No, sir.
Is that why you were disciplined?
Yes, sir.
Ask the witness.
Defense, your cross.
Good afternoon, or good morning, officer.
Good morning, sir.
How you doing?
Doing okay, sir.
Good. My name's Gary Hillier. I don't think we've met before. Is that right?
I'm sorry?
We haven't met before.
No, sir.
My name's Gary Hillier. I am one of the attorneys that represent Mr. Castro, and I have a few questions for you.
Yes, sir.
And I take it I have your permission to ask you questions.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I want to say before I start, there's no trick questions. If you don't understand something I'm saying, you want me to slow down, just let me know, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, officer, you say that you've got, I think it's about approximately 5 years experience with the department now, is that right?
Yes, sir. With employment.
With
Yes, sir. I've been employed with the city for over 5 years, but on the streets it's a little less.
okay, but you've been employed by San Antonio Police Department for 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And did you have any prior law enforcement experience before that?
No, sir.
So would it be fair to say that, I guess it's 2024 now, you're in the academy at around 2019?
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And at the academy, I think you spoke earlier to the prosecutor about your training. You're trained on various things at the academy, right?
Yes, sir.
One of those is report writing,
Yes, sir.
and you're taught stuff about the penal code,
Yes, sir.
right? You're taught about to investigate scenes of crimes to
Yes,
a
sir.
certain extent initially, right, as a patrol officer.
Get the groundwork going. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and in this case, we're talking about investigating a crash,
Yes, sir.
right? Because you know how to investigate, get the groundwork going on an accident scene, right?
Yes, sir.
And you'd agree that all facts are important.
Yes, sir.
And I guess you'd agree with me that your report writing and the accuracy of your reports are important.
They are important, but usually my reports are summaries.
Yeah, there are summaries, right? I agree, because you can't write everything verbatim because it would be hundreds of pages long.
Yes, sir.
But it's important to put things in your report that matter to the investigation,
Yes, sir.
because you rely on your reports.
I'm sorry?
You rely on your report, the accuracy of it.
Yes, sir.
Your supervisors rely on your reports.
Yes, sir.
And in this case, I guess, you know, we've spoken, the prosecutor spoke to you about it. Internal investigations, disciplinary people rely on your reports.
Yes, sir.
And today, this jury's relying on the accuracy of your reports, right?
Yes, sir. And body camera.
Yeah, because have you reviewed a copy of your report before today?
Yes, sir.
Have you got a copy in front of you now?
I do not, sir.
You don't. And you'd agree with me that it's important to write the totality of everything in your report.
I usually cover the basics, the important stuff. Yes, sir.
So you put it's important. You think in the interest, is it important for your reports to be fair?
Yes, sir.
It is, right? Because that encompasses that totality. So what I mean by fair is you put evidence of innocence in there as well as guilt. Do you do that?
Yes, sir. I put everyone's statements in said reports.
But other evidence that you collect and observe, do you put that in there?
Yes, sir.
Because it's important in a case like this that you don't miss anything.
Yes, sir.
And you'd agree with me, there are policies and procedures on and your training that governs how you deal with scenes like this.
Yes, sir.
Right. And they come from the San Antonio Police Department manual.
Yes, sir. Our general manual.
The general manual. So the general manual is a public document, right?
Yes, sir.
And so I can access it. Anyone can access it on the internet.
Yes, sir.
And there is a document or a general policy that discusses how to investigate a crash scene, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm not talking about how TID do it, traffic investigations. I'm talking about for a patrol person, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember what the specific number is?
I couldn't give you the specific rules and the general manual number, sir.
If I were to tell you it's 707, would you have reasons to doubt me?
Yes.
It sounds familiar, sir.
I'm going to show you.
And counsel, did you show the document to the state?
I will be judging. I'm going to mark it.
Yeah.
Can I approach that?
Yes.
So I'm going to pass you the marked defense one. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Why do you recognize it?
It's part of our general manual.
Have you seen it before?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, did you get trained on this policy in the academy?
Briefly, yes, sir.
Briefly, but you recognise it? And would you kindly leaf through it for me, please, to see how many pages there are?
5, sir.
5, is it substantially the same as it was when you were trained on it, to your recollection?
When I was trained on it, it looks like it was updated recently.
But that was the one that you were trained on, right?
2023, no, sir.
But that's the one sorry, that is the one that is in, or that's the public document that is in force that controls now, right?
Yes, sir. It's been amended since I've been trained on it.
Okay. And it's not been altered in any way, to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, no, sir.
Thank you. So I'm gonna leave a copy of that for you right there. Because, I mean, you've been a patrol officer for how long? 5 years?
A little over 4, sir.
A little over 4. Sorry, you've been on the department for 5, patrol for 4.
Yes, sir, since 2019 of November.
Because what I want to talk about is your experience on the streets, right? Because I think that one of the things you said that you get called to scenes, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Generally. And so you'd agree that one of your responsibilities, not just talking about that document there when you go to a scene, is to gather evidence.
Yes, sir.
And one of those, what that means is you've got to identify witnesses.
Yes, sir.
And usually procedure says that you kind of, once everyone's kept safe, keeping people safe is the first priority, right?
Yes, sir. Make sure there's no other dangers to anyone else.
Yeah, and in a normal scene, if you go into a domestic violence scene, I guess that would be different to this, but you separate the parties and keep them safe.
As best as we can with what we have.
Best as you can with what you have, exactly, because you're only human, right?
Yes, sir.
And we will make mistakes from time to time.
Yes, sir.
And like you've been very honest with the jury, you've made mistakes in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
And we appreciate your candor, officer, we do. But everything you do and you're trained to do is for a reason, right?
Yes, sir.
And separating witnesses is so that you can speak to the first witness or however many witnesses are away from the second one.
As best as we can, yes, sir.
As best that you can. Like in an ideal word, you separate the parties so you can say, hey, can you tell me what happened, please? Okay, without this person interjecting.
Defense counsel testifying.
Sustained.
So you separate witnesses,
As best as we can, yes, sir.
and the reason you do that is so that they don't talk to each other
Yes, sir.
and they don't infect each other's version of events.
Yes, sir.
So they don't say to each other, tell people stuff that happened to add facts into their knowledge.
Yes, sir.
So that witness 1 isn't influenced by something witness 2 says.
That'd be correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you'd agree that in this scene, you were here for some, how long were you at this scene?
With all parties involved, sir.
Yeah, with all, how long do you think? It was hours, right?
Total video, including the first crash, is about 7 hours.
Yes, hours and hours. So you were there for a long time. So you weren't the only officer there.
No, sir.
There were several officers there,
Yes, sir.
and everyone's got the same training.
Yes, sir.
Because the point I'm trying to make here is that you're trying to separate witnesses, but it's difficult.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes witnesses in a scene like this, they're walking around, they're talking to each other.
Yes, sir.
So it might not surprise you that that a witness might say something at the beginning when you speak to them. They give you a version of events at the beginning, and then hours later, when they've been talking to other witnesses and other officers, they might add things in.
It's a possibility, yes, sir.
Because that's what happened here, right?
I wouldn't know, sir.
But do you remember Mr. Castro, when you first spoke to him, he said some things about what happened, and then later on he said, well, the officer told me that it was a woman. I didn't know that before. Do you remember that bit?
I don't remember that, sir.
We can talk about that in a second. But I want to talk to you about your first involvement in this case. You told the prosecutor that you were called to your original call was for a wrong-way driver.
It was for a major accident involving a wrong-way driver, yes, sir.
And do you know who Shana lasel is?
She was the wrong-way driver.
She was a wrong-way driver. And do you remember speaking to her?
Yes, sir.
Now, you spent a short amount of time with Mr. Lasel. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
But when you made your way to the scene, you had to drive through backed up traffic, correct?
I had to walk back, yes, sir.
So there you go. So you had to drive to the scene. We'll look at the body camera in a minute. You drove You drove to the scene as far as you could, but you were driving, is it north on 281?
Yes, sir.
So you made your way, you were the first officer to respond, is that right?
We were all pretty much in close proximity of each other when we were arriving.
So dispatch, a call comes in and dispatch calls local officers and then they go, is that how it works?
Correct. They sent Officer Rodriguez and Officer Lechuga first, but since it was my square, I got off my break to go handle the call.
So, all right then, so it was your square. So by your square, are you talking about your patrol square?
Yes, sir, for the night.
Yeah, your district where you are assigned that square of territory, that's your space for the night to patrol.
It's not my specific space, but that's the one where I'm usually the primary officer. I still can respond to anywhere in the north side, and if there's a critical incident, we can go anywhere in the city.
Right, so of course, but that's you're the primary for that area. So you're the first one to get there.
Roughly, yes, sir.
Roughly. I mean, it was Officer Lechuga and Rodriguez.
Yes, sir. They were right
They're
behind me.
kind of behind you. They arrived soon after.
Yes, sir.
Right. But was that State's exhibit? Can I look at States too? Yeah. Also, what I want to do is we've got some technical difficulties there. I want to try and this is your body camera, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is, have you got your camera on you today?
No, sir. It's charging at the station.
Right, so you don't have to wear it to court, but you have it on your body and it's recorded when you have an interaction with the public, right?
If it's the same one that we had back then, yes, sir, because we've recently got new ones.
But it's on your body and it records everything that's happening.
Yes, sir.
So what we're going to see is you've arrived at the scene.
From the map, it kind of looks like it, but it looks like I'm still on the way.
I'm sorry, I'm not in control of this, but right, okay, this is you arriving at the scene, fair enough?
Yes, sir.
So can you pause it now? So you've been called to a major accident where a person was a wrong-way driver, your testimony, driving up the access road onto 281.
Main lane, sir. I was driving on the main lanes and it forces everyone onto the access road.
Right, mainland?
Main lanes. I apologize. The freeway. Yes, sir.
So, but she's coming, if we can see the screen at the top there, the top right-hand corner, this is kind of 281 traveling north, right?
Yes, sir.
And so what we're seeing now is the traffic. You can't take your vehicle any further, right?
No, sir.
Because although we can't see it, the traffic here is kind of 2 lanes, but it's going to go down to 1, right?
Further down, yes, sir.
Further down, right? And then it goes from 2 lanes, which it is here, you can see on the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
And then it's going to go into 1, right?
Yes, sir.
And then that 1 is going to go off the exit ramp.
Yes, sir.
And that's where the wrong way driver has come up and had a collision.
Correct. They came from the access road.
Sorry.
They came from the access road.
They came from the access road, obviously the wrong way on the access road, come the wrong way up the access of the exit ramp, right? They're driving the wrong way on the highway, right, okay. So this is where, at this point, you parked your vehicle at the back of the traffic that's backed up.
Yes, sir.
Correct? And if we see the top right-hand corner of you see the yellow triangle, it's really weird, I'm sorry, officer. There's a time up there, there's a timestamp. You'd agree with me on that, right?
Yes, sir.
It says axon body 3, then there's an X and some numbers, and above it there's the date, right?
Yes, sir.
2022, 7/22, and 0156. It's written in military timing. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that basically tells us what time it is. So you're arriving there at 1:56 a.m. and 9 seconds, I think.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. And so this is as far as the traffic's up. So now, so what we're going to look at here is we're going to see you, if you bear with us, you're walking down now through several vehicles that are already piled up, right? The traffic is piled up. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
I mean, and that's as close as you can get in your car, right?
Yes, sir. At least from where we came from.
Yeah, and so because now here we see that the traffic is trying to go over to 2 lanes, and the traffic is already backed up, and you see reverse lights. People are moving their vehicles, right? They can't go anywhere, but you are approaching the accident scene for the first scene.
Yes, sir.
Well, you said you were the handling officer
Yes, sir. Initially.
initially. So what does the handling officer mean? Officer. What does it mean to be the handling officer?
Basically, the one that's going to be writing the report.
So because you're first on scene, or because it's your square?
Either or. It
Oh,
de-
right, so it doesn't matter. So it would be fair to say you get there first and you speak to Miss Lasel,
Yes, sir.
and then your other colleagues come and help you.
Yes, sir.
We might see them come and help you in a second. So you make an initial assessment of her, right?
Yes, sir.
And I believe I was kind of unsure with the testimony earlier. Did you speak to Miss Lasel?
Yes, sir.
Did you spend much time with her?
Not much time, sir.
Not
No.
much time. So your interaction with her was kind of brief, right?
Yes, sir.
And you'd agree with me that the people who really spent time with her were Officer Rodriguez and Officer Machuga.
Yes, sir.
Because we're gonna. You keep what I'm saying, what we're seeing is how many vehicles already you have to walk past to go down to this C, the first C, the wrong way drive.
Yes, sir.
Have you counted how many vehicles it is?
No, sir.
How far do you think it was?
Maybe around 200 meters.
200 meters worth of vehicles end on end.
Yes, sir.
So this video still shows you walking down there. Because what does the policy tell you? What does your training tell you that you should be thinking about right now when you're approaching a major accident?
Trying to figure out where the crash is.
Right. Okay. So you obviously have to, because you said this came in as a major accident.
Yes, sir.
One of the things you're supposed to do is call TID anyway, regardless of the casualties, right?
Yes, sir.
So you said that one of the things you're supposed to be thinking about is identifying where it is.
Yes, sir.
And then what does the policy tell you? What does your training tell you about once you've identified the scene, what you're supposed to do there?
Speak to witnesses and try to clear up the roadway.
And here we are, we've identified. So speak to witnesses and try and clear up the roadway. And like we talked about witnesses, you identify them. I guess you deal with casualties as best you can.
Yes, sir.
And I'm talking about this one first that's on the screen.
Yes, sir.
This is Miss Lasel's car,
Yes, sir.
driven the wrong way up the access ramp.
Yes, sir.
Right. So your first priority is to see if there's any casualties.
Yes, sir.
And this is according to that policy that you've identified, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you said, did you say something about clearing up the roadway?
As best as we can. Yes, sir.
And I guess by that you mean that can mean a lot of things, right? That can mean clearing up debris off the road.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because there might be damaged bits of car that you've got to get out of the road that are going to cause damage.
It depends on the kind of crash that we have.
It depends on the kind of crash. And you'd agree with me that clearing up the roadway means providing notice to other drivers, right?
As best as we can. Yes, sir.
As best you can. And in fact, that policy says that's the first priority, right?
I believe so, sir.
Well, according to your training, I mean, review it if you want. You can please take a look. Can I approach, Judge?
Yes.
You do it. Oh, it's good. No, I don't need to, Judge. We've got the same. He's already got a copy. So, also have a look at the first. I'm going to approach. Sorry, Judge. It might be easier. The bottom paragraph, responding to crashes. I've got color. I'm sorry. I've got the color copy right. Take a look at paragraph.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the policy is it's the guidelines and training for dealing with accidents, right? Yep.
I'm sorry, sir.
The policies, it's designed, it's what you're given in the academy. Like I said, it's a public document.
Yes, sir.
It's designed to help you investigate, a guide for investigating accidents.
Yes, sir.
And you agree that when it says responding to crashes, the first officer arriving at the scene is you, right?
Yes, sir.
So the first officer's responsibilities are to warn of the crash to approaching vehicles.
Yes, sir.
As best you can, right? Because you're a human being.
Yes, sir.
But you'd agree with me that that's what that policy says. The first officer responding, their job is to warn other motorists.
Yes, sir.
As best they can. What ways do you, and we've seen them, the prosecutor showed you the video earlier, and said, what do we see now that we don't see? What ways have you got at your disposal to warn other motorists of accidents?
We have our red and blues. We have our directional arrows, and then we also have flares.
So when you say your red and blues, what you're saying to the jury is you're talking about the emergency lights that go on top of the cars.
Yes, sir.
Right, and all patrol vehicles have them.
On top, most of them.
Most, I mean, maybe some don't, right? But most cars on patrol have. So there are other vehicles coming to your scene, right, with emergency lights, the red and blues.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and there's flares.
Yes, sir.
And do you have flares on board your vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Is it standard issue for people to have flares?
Yes, sir.
You know, patrol officers.
Yes, sir.
That's the standard kit in every vehicle. And what else do you have that you can put on?
A reflective vest
Reflective, is that what they call a reflective vest? And what is the point of that?
to ensure that we're on the roadway. And if we get hit, city will cover us.
Yeah, okay, it probably is it, right? So that the city will cover you if you're insured if you get hit. But you'd agree with me, it's also to warn people. Because they're reflective, and if lights hit them, it kind of says police and stuff. Right? That's the other ways to warn, right?
Yes, so that there's a pedestrian there.
Yeah, and this isn't a criticism, but you'd agree with me that you went to that scene, you're the first one there, but no one ever did anything to warn the vehicles behind you.
We had our red and blues on.
You had your red and blues on, but let's go back over very briefly, have a look at that body camera again. Can we, Dan? You had your red and blues on. So do you remember what time this call came in? It doesn't matter if you don't know roughly.
The first crash,
The first crash,
155.
1:55. So it's taking you a minute to get there. It's 1:56 now, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So it's taking you 1 minute to get there. And if you're gonna get out your car, this is from 1 minute, right? You've got your red and blue flashes on. You're the first one responding. So your priority is to go to the scene.
Yes, sir.
And your priority is to make sure no one's injured at that first scene right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we can see the build up in 1 minute. I didn't count them, but you've gone through 200 meters worth of traffic.
Yes, sir.
So for every minute, I mean, I'm not asking you to commit to this, but for every minute that you spend at that first accident, what's going on behind you? Because what road are you on there?
The exit ramp from Marshall Road,
But what highway is that?
281.
It's a highway,
Yes, sir.
right? And there's people traveling on it.
Yes, sir.
So for every minute you spend at that accident, what's happening behind you?
Traffic's building up.
Traffic's building up. It's building up every minute. So you've got this call came at 1:55, at 1:56, there's 200. I think that makes a point there. So in 1 minute, just to your estimation, because you were there, there's 200 meters worth of traffic built up.
Yes, sir.
I'm not asking you to do any math. I'm not going to ask you to do any math. I'm bad at math, right? But you'd agree with me. You were. It was around 2:20 when the second incident happened,
Yes, sir.
right? And that's around 23 minutes after you first got there,
Yes, sir.
right? And so you arrived on scene at the first accident within a minute, and there was 200 meters worth of traffic,
Yes, sir.
right? So after 23 minutes on scene, what was going on behind your car?
The second crash happened
But where did it happen?
further southwest.
Further south. How approximately how further south?
I would say maybe 200 meters. I'm not an expert.
Probably a bit more than that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, probably quite a bit more than 200 meters off the right.
Yes, I didn't measure whenever I went there.
Yeah, because you had to walk and then you could run. We'll have a look on the video in a minute, but it was quite a distance,
Yes, sir.
right? And I know that what you wrote in your report and that you noted in your report that you noted in you have a copy of your report in front of you?
Not with me right now,
You
sir. No,
reviewed
sir.
it today?
I haven't reviewed it today, sir.
Yeah.
My report.
No, I'm just going to get a clean
No,
copy.
I haven't reported.
Excuse me, everyone, this is what I want everybody to do. Court reporter cannot hear. Everybody needs to stop whispering. Everybody needs to speak up so the court reporter can hear and so that the jury can hear. So ask your question.
Sorry, Judge, I can't remember what I was going to say.
Do you have your report?
Not with me, Your Honor.
He does not have his report with him.
Would it help if you had a look at it
Yes, sir.
to refresh your memory? Recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Is that your report? Is that your report? Sorry, I've got to speak up.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we're looking at this front page here has got some like biographical data on the top, time, place, and where this happened.
The approximate location, yes, sir.
Yeah, and the bottom part, and I'm sorry to reach over you, so the bottom bit's called the narrative.
Yes, sir.
Right, like you said earlier, this is a summary of what's going on,
Yes, sir.
because you can't write everything.
Yes, sir.
But these are your main thoughts and recollection. Did you write this when this incident was fresh in your mind?
Yes, sir.
And did you write this before you go off duty that day?
Yes, sir.
And is that your policy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. And it details it. I want to draw your attention to page 2 if you'll turn over. There's a second paragraph. I want you to read that and then look up. That's the second one, yeah. And can you have a look at the third paragraph, the last couple of sentences of the third?
Counsel, you want to mark that so that the record can be clear?
Just mark it as defense 2. Let me go get a sticker. I'm not going to enter it, Judge.
I understand.
We'll mark that document as defense 2. Yeah, just draw your attention to page 2 and I'll go sit down there. So you agree that your perceptions of this incident, by the time you went to the second crash with Miss Siebert, there was a lot of traffic lined up on the highway.
Yes, sir.
Now, you would agree with me that nobody from SAPD went to the back of the traffic to try and close the road at that point.
After the first crash or the second crash?
Well, after the first crash, your vehicle was there
Yes, sir.
with your red and blue flashes on, right?
Yes, sir.
What do you call them? Not red and blue flashes, what they call
Emergency lights?
emergency lights. You had your emergency lights on, but then you have walked 200 meters down to the sea with Mr. Lasel.
Yes, sir. I wasn't aware exactly where the crash happened.
No, and I'm not saying you should be, but you've gone and located it and you've seen that there were no casualties and you've spoken to the drivers very briefly,
Yes, sir.
right? But then your colleagues come and you leave her, Mr. Lasel, and the other parties to deal with that while you go and start writing your report.
That and to make sure everyone had valid licenses.
Yeah, and you're doing your investigation, right? And that's what you're supposed to be doing. But then you go and sit in your car and you're in your car for 20 minutes and nobody from the San Antonio Police Department thinks, hey, hold on a minute. You've been sitting here for 20 minutes. Let's warn the drivers behind you because traffic's backing up.
Testifying.
Sustained.
But let's look at the video. Let's look at your body cam.
All right, let's pause here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you all your lunch break. We're going to come back at 1:30 and we're going to continue with testimony. Remember my instructions. Do not think about this case outside of this courtroom. Do not do any investigation. Do not view anything. Do not talk to each other. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
Well, when I say do not talk to each other, I mean about the case. All right. All right. If you can mute us, please, and we can go off record. There are many